welcome. I'm your host, Richard Hagon, and we're inside the Magic Studio. Our guest today hails from Davis, California in the United States of America. He's the 2007 United States champion. He has Grand Prix wins in San Francisco, Atlanta, and Los Angeles. He's the reigning champion of Pro Tour Berlin from 2008. He plays vintage, legacy, extended, standard, block, 8-man, 6-man draft, two-headed giant. Oh, and he also judges. He is Luis Scott-Vargas, LSV. Welcome to Inside the Magic Studio. Thanks for being here.
Hey Rich, thanks for having me.
Okay, first question. You're born where and when?
I was born in Oakland, California, and grew up there until I left for Davis in 1983.
Tell us about your family then. Who's at home?
My parents, my mom and dad, and then my two younger brothers.
So you're the oldest of the group?
Yeah, I'm older by 3 years and 11 years than the younger brothers.
What kind of family was it in terms of the relationship with games? Were you a big gaming family?
No, not so much. I played a lot of chess growing up. My dad and my grandfather and my uncle, my dad's brother, they all played chess, and so yeah, I guess that would be my first introduction to games.
What kid were you at school? Were you the quiet kid, the guy at the back in the corner? Were you the sporty kid, the competitive kid, the joker? Who were you at school?
I alternated between quiet. Sometimes I got good grades, sometimes I didn't. I do like to joke around, so there's different aspects of that. I even ran cross country in high school, so
awesome.
Although I wasn't too deep into sports. No.
Right. Okay. So, were you identified quite early as being someone with great, if you like, intellectual potential? Were you aware that your mind was going to be your fortune down the line?
I guess like I was always taught to think a lot, and like I always loved to read, and I still do, and so something like going to college wasn't usually a big question. That was something I'd kind of assumed I was going to do. And
okay, so that was all part of the life plan, if you like.
Right.
Tell us about college. Where did you go? What did you study?
I studied political science at the University of California, Davis, where I actually still live. I started in engineering. I did a few years of that before deciding I didn't like it.
Yep.
I knew I didn't like it, and then I decided to switch out. There was unfortunately a bit of a lag between the two, but I like political science, and I graduated in 2007.
Okay. Is there any link between political science and the playing of Magic?
Not so much the playing, but I do write articles, and learning how to write papers and edit, and basically how to make yourself sound better when you're writing was a big part of political science. I had to write a lot of papers.
And how did you start playing? How did you first become aware of the game?
When I was in 5th grade, so when I was in 11, I believe, my friend Seth, he said he heard about this game, and we bought 2 starter decks of Revised and a couple packs of the Dark, I think, and we started playing against each other pretty badly. Like, we didn't know how the rules worked really, but that was definitely my introduction. Like Zach Dolan, the first world champion, he used to play kind of in my area, and I played against him a few times. This guy had to be during Tempest. It's much easier to do it by set chronologically, I'm sure. Yeah. Most Magic players would attest to that.
Yep, absolutely. Tempest, my first pre-release.
Also during Tempest, Ben Rubin came in second at the Pro Tour.
Yep.
And I used to play at the store where him and Ken Ho and Dan Clegg and a lot of the, better players in the Pro Tour at the time played. So Ben's only a year older than me. So actually, it took quite a while before I even tried to qualify. But I remember, that he did go to these things, and I think that was kind of cool. Without other good players to work with, to even if you don't know them really well, even just to watch them play at local tournaments, because I certainly didn't know Ben or any of these guys at all, because I didn't even play in tournaments back then, but I watched them play in tournaments, and that's finding better players is always the best way to get better. It was kind of funny because my first PTQ was not until 2003. I knew about the Pro Tour 5-6 years earlier, but I never thought I would be good enough to play at a PTQ, and I never really even considered going to a Pro Tour. But when I picked up the game again in college, I took a break until then. Some of the friends I had met said, we're going to a PTQ, would you like to come? And I ended up going, and I found it wasn't as difficult as I'd always imagined them to be.
So Pro Tour San Diego on home turf. Tell us about that first Pro Tour experience. What is the Pro Tour like? Not just on the playing side, but the whole experience.
Well, it was interesting because I had top-aided some PTQs before San Diego, but I conceded in one of them because I knew I wasn't going to go and that sort of thing. But when they announced that it was for Pro Tour San Diego, that was the first time I actually thought I'd like to go to this. And so I won a PTQ because I really wanted to actually go to the Pro Tour. And so, yeah, I drove down with a bunch of friends, many of whom were actually playing in the tournament. So, it was cool to see a bunch of people I'd heard about, like all these pros that I'd heard about but not actually ever met, of course. It was fun having other people playing in the tournament, and we ended up, like one of my friends made top 16 and took us all out to dinner afterwards.
Something you said there, I don't know whether it's significant or not, you said, I wanted to qualify, so I did, essentially. How important is really wanting it and believing that it's there for you?
As much as I used to think that was kind of like junk psychology, like when people would talk about sports, about really wanting it, I think it's absolutely true. Like, I found like my first couple of goals I set for myself, like qualify for San Diego, win a Grand Prix trial to get 3 buys at GP Oakland, the first GP that was in my hometown. Mm-hmm. Those are things I was able to do, but when you really want something, you usually find ways to get it. Like, I don't think the universe bends itself or anything, but I think you put an extra effort you don't even know you have, and that definitely is a big part of it. Right.
Is there a feeling when you go particularly abroad to a Pro Tour of adventures together, the sort of wandering band of nomads kind of feel?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like, I think having your friends come with you is one of the most important parts of it. Like, that way, if bad things happen to you, it happens to you as a group, and you can, laugh about it later, as opposed to just being miserable and by yourself in some foreign country. Although that hasn't really happened to me either,
Okay, so let's look at an individual Pro Tour then. How do you go about preparing for a Pro Tour, whether it's constructed or limited, or as is the case now in 2009, both? What's your testing process?
It's varied, like, depending on the season and, like, the availability of people. Like, me and Paul Chian used to be roommates, so we would just test against each other. That was easy, and that's what we did. At times, if time permits, you can meet up with people before the Pro Tour, and that's always great. Like for drafts, I try to organize all the local players I know to draft and, get a solid eight-person draft, which has ideally enough good people that it's kind of a mock of the Pro Tour. One of the guys in our testing group, Josh, he keeps a program that inputs all our testing results into and it displays a little graph of, the winning percentages of everything, and that's a good baseline, but you also have to play the matches and get a feel for what's happening so that you know if the percentages are accurate. And I think both keeping track of the data and also just playing so you know what's going on are important parts. You can't just do one or the other.
You showed significant improvement in 2007, not just in results. You must have been aware of that improvement. Where did that come from?
Well, part of it is that in 2007 I made a concerted effort to go to all the Pro Tours. Like, I hadn't done that in any of the previous years. Mm-hmm. And I practiced for them and really took Magic more seriously. I think that was like the big turning point. Again, Paul was living with me, and we both saw this as something we could do, and so we both kind of did it together. You have to just put yourself in the right position. Like, someone who qualified for their first Pro Tour go and don't make day 2, like, it might be disappointing, but you have to realize that a lot of people don't make day 2, and part of the reason that, like, pros do well at events is because they play a couple Pro Tours in a year, or all of them, or what have you, and that kind of evens out the luck. That's the idea, at least.
When you win the US Nationals in 2007, do you feel that you've made it and validated yourself in some way?
Yeah, I think that definitely, because even though I finished well in 2007, like in terms of Player of the Year race or like point total, like I was level 7 or in the Players Club, I didn't really have too many, big performances. But that week where I won Nationals, then Grand Prix San Francisco, that's where I kind of felt I deserved, kind of some of the attention I was getting.
Sure. Did you feel that you were in Paul Chion's shadow up until that point?
I mean, I was, I think. Like, Paul, in a lot of ways, is definitely better than me. Like, there's many aspects of his game which, like, he has the burning drive to win, I think, more than I do. And that certainly helps. Like, I know when him and I play casual, like cube draft or whatever, he's way more serious than I am. And that's just the makeup of his personality. And you'll find that a lot of the Pro Tour winners have that. They just can't turn it off.
To what extent do you play the deck that's in front of you, and to what extent do you play the man or woman that's in front of you?
I think you have to do both. In a lot of cases, the deck is going to be what you need to play, but if you want, every good player has a certain winning percentage. What the difference between a good and a great player isn't a very big percentage, and some of that percentage is found in reading your opponent. Like, part of the advantage of playing a lot of Magic is you just notice what people do, and even if you don't consciously know, subconsciously, like, you get this feeling. And I've learned over the years to really trust that feeling. Like when I think my opponent's got this card and I don't know why I think that, I usually just go with it.
Okay. Do you see yourself as one of the best players in the world?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I do. I think there's definitely a lot of players who are better than me. But
who else? Name me a few.
I think Shuhai is like amazing. Like he just actually never loses. He locked up level 8 with 20 points to spare.
Yeah. See, this has been largely a conversation about winning. I want to ask you something about losing. You go 5-1 in Worlds, then we get to draft, and in the first 5 rounds you go 1-4.
Right.
And in that last round of draft, the 5th round, you are then technically out of top 8 contention. And at that point, the train for top 8 departs, and you're left with 7 rounds of Worlds still to play. You win them all.
Yeah.
How do you reevaluate, kind of reboot, and go, okay, that goal has gone, but there's still a lot of Magic to play?
I actually don't think that way. Like when I got eliminated, like I knew I was out of contention, but I didn't think, okay, now I'm out of contention. I just thought, you know, that's that. I think one of the things that is true about me is that like I tend to play at like kind of the same pace or, you know, at the same level regardless of what the circumstances are. And I think the fact that I am out of contention, you know, ideally doesn't really change how I'm playing. I like to keep an even keel throughout.
In life, what makes a winner?
I think, again, having the desire and having ambition. I don't think you should have inappropriate ambition and desire. Some people certainly do, and you know, then you end up with dictators and whatnot. But I think having positive goals and really wanting to achieve them go a long way.
Okay, in Magic, what makes a winner?
There's aspect of that. You know, having free time and access to good people to play against is really nice too. Like, there are plenty of people who could continue to dominate this game, but they've moved on to different, you know, sometimes better things. So, and that's just part of life. That's part of the reason, you know, I'm glad I really took advantage of the time I really had to play this game, because, you know, who's to say that in 5 years I would be able to.
Let's look ahead, not 5 years into the future, but 50 years into the future. In retirement, grandkids on the knee, and you show them the one deck that you've kept from your Magic career. What is that deck and why do you keep it?
It's actually the first PTQ I won and constructed was with blue-white Mind's Desire with Sapphire Medallion, Cloud of Fairies, and then my friend David Ochoa, who's actually here with us, he won a PTQ the next weekend with the same deck. And it was a very fun deck to play. It has all the elements that I like. You drew a lot of cards, you do a lot of stuff, and I like playing combo decks, as you know most people know at this point.
Yep. And
I really liked that deck. It was a deck I stuck with the whole season, and it rewarded us.
Okay, so we're going to close with a quick questionnaire, which some viewers may be familiar with. Here we go. What's your favorite word, Luis?
Burrito.
What's your least favorite word?
Probably no.
What turns you on creatively, spiritually, emotionally?
I like competing against other people, preferably on an intellectual level, but you know, I really like competition.
Okay. What turns you off?
Apathy. I'm not a big fan of that.
What sound or noise do you love?
I love the sound of my dog's bark.
What sound or noise do you hate?
I can't stand it when like chalk or fingernails on a chalkboard or silverware on a plate. Like that actually just drives me crazy.
Okay. Other than playing games, what profession would you like to attempt?
Being a lawyer, it might be something I might even pursue someday.
Okay. And what job would you, under no circumstances, want to do?
Something like data entry, where you don't have to think at all, doesn't appeal to me.
Okay, so you've got to be able to think.
Yeah, I think having the freedom to think is paramount in anything you do.
Okay, final question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
I have no idea. I don't. Heaven isn't something I really think about very much.
Okay. Luis Scott-Vargas, hottest man in Magic. Thanks for being with us inside the Magic Studio.
Thank you.